History made, America has its first pope. Meet Pope Leo XIV. In a moment that stunned the world and made history, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of the United States has just been elected as the new leader of the Catholic Church, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. From the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, he greeted a roaring crowd with a heartfelt message of peace and paid tribute to the late Pope Francis. For the first time ever, the papacy now has an American voice at the helm of 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. A moment for the ages. Pope Leo XIV unites the world with his first words. As tens of thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square, a wave of prayer and emotion swept through the crowd the moment Pope Leo XIV stepped onto the balcony. His first public appearance as the successor to the beloved Pope Francis. The square fell silent, then erupted in cheers as the new pontiff, smiling warmly, raised his hand in blessing. To all people wherever you are, to every nation, to the whole earth, peace be with you, Leo declared, his voice steady and filled with purpose. His words struck a powerful chord, especially when he urged the world to build bridges through dialogue, through encounter, to come together as one people, always in peace. The crowd responded with thunderous applause, growing louder still as Leo, who spent years serving in Peru, seamlessly shifted into Spanish, honoring his deep roots in Latin America. But the most poignant moment came when he paid heartfelt tribute to Pope Francis, who passed away just a month prior. We still hear his voice, weak, but always courageous, blessing Rome, Leo said, recalling the late pontiff's final Easter message. Long considered a strong contender among the Papabili, Leo's election marks not only a historic first for America, but a continuation of the mission Pope Francis championed: compassion, inclusion, and global unity. Shock, celebration, and a global welcome, the world reacts to Pope Leo XIV. Though Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost wasn't a household name among everyday Catholics, his election as Pope Leo XIV sent shockwaves around the world. From the moment the white smoke curled into the Roman sky, signaling the cardinals had made their choice, bells tolled across the Eternal City, and the crowd surged toward St. Peter's Square, hearts pounding in anticipation. Within minutes, world leaders were lining up to offer congratulations and pledge cooperation with the new pontiff on global humanitarian issues. Despite having previously shared articles critical of former U.S. President Donald Trump's anti-migrant stance, Pope Leo XIV still received praise from Trump himself. Congratulations to Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who was just named Pope, Trump posted on his platform. It is such an honor to realize that he is the first American Pope. What excitement, and what a great honor for our country. The energy in Vatican City was electric, as the red curtains parted on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, revealing the 267th Pope. Thousands erupted in cheers. Latin chants filled the air as Leo XIV's name was announced to the world. Among the crowd, emotions ran high. "It's an amazing feeling," said Joseph Bryan, a 39-year-old chef from Belfast who had traveled to Rome with his mother. "I'm not even that religious, but being here, feeling this energy, it just blew me away." Celebrations turned euphoric. A priest hoisted high on someone's shoulders waved a Brazilian flag, while another held a heavy crucifix aloft, overcome with joy. In that moment, faith, history, and humanity collided in one unforgettable scene. Habemus Papam! Joy, tears, and a new era begins. Habemus Papam! Whoa! Shouted Bruna Hodara, 41, from Brazil, her voice cracking with emotion as she echoed the Latin phrase that officially announced the world had a new pope. All around her, flags waved, Phones were raised high, and cheers of "Viva il Papa," "Long live the Pope," rang out across St. Peter's Square like a thunderous anthem of faith and history. Florian Fried, a wide-eyed 15-year-old from Munich, was practically glowing. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to witness this. It's really special. I'm excited," he said, holding his phone tightly as he captured the moment for generations to come. As the world bids farewell to Pope Francis, who passed away at 88 after a transformative 12-year papacy marked by compassion and controversy, the eyes of 1.4 billion Catholics now turn to Leo XIV. His mission? Nothing short of monumental. He must step into a fractured church, confront the lasting scars of the abuse crisis, and be a moral compass in a world on edge from war, inequality, and rising division. The exact number of ballots cast during the conclave remains a closely guarded secret, but history was made in under 2 days. With at least 2/3 of the votes needed, Leo XIV was chosen in what became the most globally diverse conclave ever. Cardinals from over 70 countries, with 80% hand-picked by Pope Francis himself. As tradition dictates, the new pope will be formally inaugurated within the week, at a grand mass attended by world leaders and religious figures alike. Whether pastor or diplomat, or both, Leo XIV now carries the hopes of a divided church and a waiting world. Inside the mystery, what was Pope Francis really hiding in his humble home? When people hear the phrase Pope Francis's mansion, visions of gold-leaf ceilings, palatial halls, and Vatican luxury instantly come to mind. But the reality? It was nothing like that. In a break from centuries of papal tradition, Pope Francis stunned the world when he turned down the opulent apostolic palace and chose instead to live in Casa Santa Marta, a modest guest house tucked quietly inside the Vatican walls. Why would the most powerful religious figure on earth choose such simplicity? Was it humility or something more? Known for his words, "How I would love a church that is poor and for the poor," Francis lived those values to the letter. No sprawling apartments, no throne rooms, just a plain room, meals in the common dining hall, and the humility of a man who walked the talk. His choice became a global symbol of reform and authenticity. But after his death, the story took a chilling turn. Without warning, Vatican officials sealed off his humble residence. What was once open and inviting was suddenly locked down, tight. No access, no answers. Not even senior clergy were allowed in. Why the sudden secrecy? Was this standard protocol, or was something inside those walls worth hiding? As whispers grew and theories spread, a darker question began to surface. Was Pope Francis's life of simplicity just a cover for a deeper, more dangerous truth? What did he leave behind? And why does the Vatican seem so determined to keep it hidden? Let's step beyond the headlines and into a mystery that could shake the very soul of the Church. The People's Pope, or the Church's quiet revolutionary? They called him the People's Pope, and for good reason. From the moment Pope Francis stepped onto the world stage, it was clear he wasn't cut from the same cloth as his predecessors. Gone were the golden thrones, the royal processions, the polished opulence. In their place stood a man of humility, walking shoulder to shoulder with the faithful, preaching compassion over tradition. But now, with his passing, a new question rises from the ashes. Was Pope Francis's modest lifestyle just a gesture of humility, or was it something far more calculated? For years, his decision to live in Casa Santa Marta, a simple Vatican guest house, was hailed as a bold message, a pope for the poor, rejecting comfort to stay close to the people. But behind those humble walls, insiders now whisper of strategy. Some suggest that Pope Francis used his modest quarters not just as a home, but as a fortress of reform. a place where he penned letters, drafted plans, and safeguarded secrets too dangerous for the marble halls of power. He lived simply, one source said, but his thoughts, they could shake empires. Now that unassuming room is locked, sealed tight by Vatican officials within hours of his death. At first, it seemed like standard protocol. After all, when a pope dies, tradition calls for his living quarters to be secured, to protect personal belongings and official documents. But this time, something feels different. This time, the lockdown was swift, silent, absolute. Not even high-ranking clergy were allowed inside. Rumors began to swirl about sealed letters, confidential lists, even a blueprint for radical reforms meant to challenge the very hierarchy of the church. These weren't just bedtime notes, these were revolution in ink. So the question echoes louder with each passing day. Is the Vatican simply honoring tradition, or racing to bury secrets that could change the Catholic Church forever? The room may be sealed, but the mystery is wide open. And what lies behind those doors could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Pope Francis, and the future of faith itself. The hidden blueprint. Was Pope Francis planning a revolution from within? Pope Francis may be gone, but the secrets he left behind are just beginning to surface. As one Vatican insider reportedly whispered, "What's in there isn't just history. It's the future of the church." What followed next sent shockwaves through the Vatican and beyond. Rumors began to swirl, whispers of confidential documents buried deep within Casa Santa Marta. These weren't just journals or farewell notes. They were bold, strategic, and possibly explosive, a secret succession plan, sweeping reforms and visions for reshaping the church in ways that some in power never wanted revealed. Why was access to his residence so tightly restricted, even from senior cardinals? What could possibly be so sensitive that the Vatican sealed the doors faster than ever before? This wasn't protocol. It felt like a race against time, a battle to contain information that could ignite global debate or even fracture the church from within. But in the midst of these hushed conversations, one name kept surfacing: Luis Antonio Tagle. The Filipino cardinal, known for his closeness to Francis and progressive stance, was rumored to be central to the Pope's secret vision. Could it be that Francis saw Tagle not just as a trusted ally, but as the torchbearer for a transformed church? Sources claim what was found behind those locked doors was no ordinary collection of papers. It was a blueprint, handwritten letters, radical ideas for inclusion, and perhaps most shocking of all, a list of future leaders he believed could carry on his mission. Tradition says popes don't name successors. But then again, Francis was never one for tradition. He knew the resistance. He knew how fragile reform could be in the face of entrenched power. So maybe, just maybe, he left behind not just a legacy, but a roadmap for a spiritual revolution. What's hidden behind those sealed walls could shake the Catholic Church to its very core. And now, the world waits to see whether those secrets will stay buried or rise to light. The silent architect? Was Tagle handpicked to lead a revolution? One Vatican source put it plainly: Francis didn't just hope for change, he planned it. And at the very core of those plans, one name surfaced again and again: Luis Antonio Tagle. The whispers say these weren't just passing mentions. These documents positioned Tagle as the centerpiece of a bold new vision, a church reimagined, rooted in compassion, grounded in equality, and ready to speak to the modern world. If the rumors hold true, Pope Francis wasn't leaving his legacy to fate. He was shaping it from beyond the grave. But this revelation raised more questions than answers. Why were these documents hidden? Were they meant to be revealed at a carefully chosen moment? Or were they concealed out of fear? Fear of backlash from the Vatican's deeply entrenched conservative power base? And if Tagle really was the chosen one, what does that mean for the Church's future? These weren't just papers. This was a silent revolution, waiting for a spark. Luis Antonio Tagle, the protege in the shadows. For years, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle moved through the Vatican with quiet purpose. Humble, soft-spoken, devoted to the people. He never chased headlines, never courted influence. But someone was watching, someone who mattered. From the crowded streets of Manila to the inner sanctums of Vatican power, Tagle's journey was more than coincidence. It was destiny forged in shared values, whispered conversations, and a common dream: to build a church that serves, not rules. They called him the Asian Francis, a nickname that said everything. Like the Pope, Tagle believed in humility over hierarchy, compassion over control. Behind closed doors, the two shared countless private meetings discussing not just the present, but the path ahead. One insider revealed, Francis didn't just see a cardinal in Tagle, he saw a continuation of his dream. As the years passed, Francis entrusted Tagle with some of the Church's most delicate tasks: global diplomacy, outreach to the marginalized, internal reforms that challenged centuries of rigidity. And quietly, something became clear to those paying attention. Tagle wasn't just being trusted. Now, with the discovery of secret documents locked inside Casa Santa Marta, the picture sharpens. Tagle wasn't simply a close ally. He may have been the one Pope Francis believed could carry the torch, ignite the transformation, and withstand the storm. Yet Tagle never boasted, never spoke of ambition. And perhaps that's exactly why Francis chose him, a man who didn't crave power, but was called to serve. So now we must ask, did Pope Francis, aware that his time was running short, design a hidden succession plan, one meant to outlive him, to outmaneuver resistance, and to ensure his revolution didn't die with him? Let's pull the curtain back further and explore the unspoken bond between a revolutionary pope and the man who may soon carry his legacy into the future. The Pope, the protege, and the secret that could change everything. A decision years in the making may soon be revealed, one that defies tradition and could redefine the future of the Catholic Church. It's a secret succession plan, hidden in plain sight. Popes, by rule, are not allowed to name their successors. It's a centuries-old tradition rooted in the belief that the Holy Spirit guides the cardinals during conclave. But if anyone could quietly shape the Church's future without ever breaking the rules, it was Pope Francis. For years, Francis dropped subtle hints, speaking candidly about his declining health, expressing openness to retirement, and making moves that, in hindsight, seem incredibly deliberate. This wasn't just a man preparing to step aside. This was a leader preparing the Church for what and who was coming next. Behind closed doors, many believe Pope Francis was building a quiet but strategic plan, not through formal decrees, but through mentorship and placement, carefully positioning key figures like Luis Antonio Tagle exactly where they needed to be. As one Vatican insider put it, Francis didn't leave the future to chance. He planted seeds, and Tagle was the strongest one. Now, the sudden sealing of Pope Francis's modest Vatican residence takes on a different weight. Was it really about preserving his personal effects? Or was it about locking away a strategy, plans so sensitive they couldn't be risked falling into the wrong hands? If reports of hidden letters and documents are true, they may confirm what many have long suspected, that Francis quietly saw Tagle as the one to carry his mission forward. The private conversations, the meteoric rise, the deep trust. Suddenly it all makes sense. But such a plan would come with dangerous consequences. The Church's conservative factions, deeply entrenched, fiercely protective of tradition, would see a successor like Tegel as a threat to their authority. A progressive papacy is not just a vision. To some, it's a revolution. And that's exactly why the Vatican may have moved so quickly to control the narrative and the evidence. So now the world watches and waits. Did Pope Francis do enough to ensure his vision survives? Or will internal resistance bury it with him? Tegel's tightrope: reform, revolution, or risk. If the whispers are true, if Luis Antonio Tegel truly stands at the center of Pope Francis's secret plan, then his mission is far greater than anyone imagined. This isn't just about leadership. It's about walking a razor-thin line between tradition and transformation, with no safety net below. From the streets of Manila to the power corridors of Rome, Tegel built a reputation for quiet strength and deep compassion. He listened when others preached. He stood with the poor, welcomed refugees, and gave voice to those long ignored, even by the Church itself. He became, in many ways, the human embodiment of Pope Francis's dream, a church that opens its arms instead of pointing fingers, that chooses mercy over judgment, and that leads with love instead of power. But now, the stakes have never been higher. If Tegel is indeed the Pope's chosen heir, not by title but by trust, then he may be stepping into not just a new chapter, but the heart of a battle for the Church's very soul. Is this the moment the Catholic Church turns a page or tears it out? Tegel and the Vatican's silent revolution. Following the death of Pope Francis, the discovery of hidden documents in his sealed residence has sparked speculation about a long-planned secret succession, with Cardinal Luis Antonio Tegel at its center. This isn't just about leadership. Tegel may have been chosen to complete Pope Francis's vision of a reformed church, one built on compassion, inclusion, and modern relevance. But that mission comes at a cost. Every step toward reform risks backlash from powerful conservative forces within the Vatican, who view such change as betrayal, not progress. Armed with Francis's trust and the hopes of millions, Tegel now faces a dangerous calling. He's stepping into a quiet war, where resistance hides behind smiles and tradition is used as a weapon. This is no longer about personal ambition. It's about whether Tegel can protect Francis's legacy before it's buried by the very institution they both tried to change. The Silent War, Tegel and the battle for the Church's future. After Pope Francis's death, conservative forces within the Vatican didn't just mourn. They saw a chance to reclaim power they felt slipping away. Standing in their way is Luis Antonio Tegel, viewed by many as the living symbol of Francis's unfinished revolution. The sudden sealing of Francis's residence may not have been just protocol. It could have been a strategic move to bury bold reform plans that some inside the Church fear. Behind closed doors, a silent war is underway, fought not with speeches, but with delays, silence, and backroom resistance. Now Tegel finds himself at the center of this high-stakes battle. He's no longer just a church leader. He's the potential face of a transformed future. Every step he takes could shape the faith of over 1.4 billion Catholics and redefine the Church's role in global issues like climate change, migration, and social justice. The question isn't whether Tegel is ready, it's whether he can overcome the hidden forces working to bury Pope Francis's vision once and for all. The hidden blueprint that could redefine the Catholic Church. What was sealed inside Pope Francis's residence may not have been just documents. It could be a blueprint for global transformation. At the heart of this quiet storm is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a man believed by many to be Pope Francis's hand-picked successor. Under Tagle's leadership, the Church could shift from tradition to transformation, embracing interfaith dialogue, defending human rights, and confronting long-avoided issues like equality and inclusion. But such a move would provoke fierce resistance from political powers and conservative forces inside the Vatican. The Church now stands at a crossroads. Cling to the past or step into a future where faith meets the modern world, and all eyes are on Tagle. Will he rise to fulfill the vision Pope Francis may have secretly prepared him for? Or will the silent forces of tradition bury that future for good? One thing is clear. What was found behind those sealed doors could change everything. And the next chapter in church history is unfolding right now.